In today's video, we are making roasted garlic polenta fries with balsamic tomato dipping sauce. So the first thing we're going to do is get our polenta ready. So we're going to use, instead of the dry loose polenta, we're using a tube of polenta. And you can get this anywhere. I got this at Walmart, but you can also get it at Trader Joe's or Publix. They sell it at most grocery stores. Mine was in the kind of the pasta area, so I found it there. So how I'm going to do this is I'm just going to cut it right down the middle. Oop, this one has a lot of water in it. And you just pull the top or the end of each side off like that. Let me get my towel. And what we're going to do is cut this into fry shapes. So it doesn't really matter what size you cut it. The smaller the fry, the crispier it's going to be, and you're going to need to really watch it to make sure it doesn't burn. If you cook them a little larger, you may want to pop on the broiler at the end. And we've also preheated the oven to 450 degrees. So make sure you do that before you get started. So I'm going to cut these into our fry shapes. And I've got a sheet pan ready. And I like to use either parchment paper or I will use a silicone baking mat, which really is great for non-stick. So I've got that prepared. And I'm really trying to cut back on the amount of oil I use in the recipe. So what I'm going to do is just spray a little bit of avocado oil just on the pan. And when I first did this recipe, I sprayed it on the top as well. But today I'm just going to spray it so it really does a good job with not sticking to the pan. So I'm going to lay these out, and these are going to bake a little bit longer, but you're going to be putting the tomatoes and the polenta in at the same time. So we're just getting that ready. And as I said, whatever size you decide to cut these in, if you cut them a little larger, they're just going to be a little bit softer on the inside and then crispy on the outside. And then you just want to make sure you're cutting them basically the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect, but this is just a fun alternative to using potatoes.
I love making this recipe if I have big groups where we have a potluck or a cookout. It's just a really fun way to bring a delicious appetizer that is, like I said, a little bit different than potatoes. So these are all ready, and the next thing we're going to do is season these with a little bit of salt and pepper. And if you're watching your salt, you can skip the salt, but I just like to add a little bit at this stage just for some extra flavor. And I use just an iodized salt. A lot of people think that pink Himalayan salt is better. It really is no better for the amount of trace minerals you're getting. So just go with an iodized salt because a lot of people are deficient in iodide. Next, we're going to chop up our tomatoes. And there are a lot of benefits of tomatoes. The main benefit is lycopene. And it's a powerful antioxidant. It's great for heart health. It may help lower LDL cholesterol and reduce blood pressure and improve overall cardiovascular health. Also, lycopene offers great cancer prevention properties. So some studies have actually shown that lycopene may reduce the risk of prostate, lung, and stomach cancers due to its antioxidant properties. It also has been shown to offer skin protection, so help protect skin against UV damage, including reducing sunburn and premature aging, and it's great for eye health. It may help lower the risk of macular degeneration and cataracts. And then finally, lycopene has a lot of anti-inflammatory effects. So we're just putting these chopped tomatoes right on our pan and spreading that around. I had sprayed that pan with a little bit of avocado oil as well. And we're going to go ahead and use half this onion because I did half the original recipe here. So onion and garlic are both what's called an allium. And so in this family is also leeks and shallots, and these foods have really potent medicinal properties. So alliums also support heart health. Onions and garlic can help lower blood pressure, reduce cholesterol, and improve circulation. Really great for boosting immunity. It has antimicrobial and antiviral properties. And you can see I just held up the bulb of garlic. And so you're just going to break that open and use a couple of the cloves of garlic here. And how you're going to do that is you're going to take the flat part of your knife, just kind of squish it down, and then it'll make it easier to peel. If you've got any little like brown spots on the clove, it's not a big deal. You can just cut that off. You don't have to throw the whole clove away unless it like really looks bad. But in this case, it was just a little brown spot. So I just cut that off. And you just throw the whole clove right on the pan. You do not have to mince it up or anything. So I'm repeating that with the other cloves, peeling those, throwing those in whole. For the full recipe, you do about 5. For this recipe, I'm doing just 3. And if you love garlic, you can always add more. And if you love onions, you can add more. Onions and garlic are great for gut health. Garlic acts as a prebiotic, feeding beneficial gut bacteria. We're going to season with a little bit of salt and pepper here as well. And then these are ready to go into the 450-degree oven. Total bake time for the tomatoes is about 20 minutes and the fries is about 40 minutes.
Okay, we've taken the fries and the tomatoes out, and now we're gonna make the balsamic tomato dipping sauce. So the fries look delicious. They're really nicely crisp. And so I'm gonna put these back over by the oven, and we're gonna start making our dipping sauce. All right. So what I like to do is, now that the tomatoes have cooled a little bit, I'm just pulling up the silicone baking sheet, and I just kind of pour it all in there. It smells so good. And I'm just using my fingers to get the last bits off. It's all caramelized. It smells absolutely delicious. All right, so I'm gonna set this aside. We are going to add to this our Italian seasoning. So we're gonna add a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Now what I want you to remember is, keep in mind, I'm using a salt-free Italian seasoning. So if your Italian seasoning has salt in it, you're just gonna wanna adjust the amount of salt you're using in the recipe. And you're gonna wanna be mindful of that. Then we're gonna add the balsamic vinegar. So the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, but since I made half the recipe this time, I'm just gonna add a tablespoon. And I did add a little bit extra of the Italian seasoning just because I like it. So you can add between a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons for the whole recipe. But again, watch that salt. Okay, then it's about a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. If you're really sensitive to heat, you do not have to add this at all. But if you like a little kick, you can add some. I'm gonna probably even do half of that because my family doesn't like too much heat. So I'm probably doing about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then to add a little bit of sweetness. So I am gonna add coconut palm sugar, which actually is lower on the glycemic index than regular sugar. Another option you can do is just leave it out completely. I find it just adds some nice balance to the acidity of the tomatoes. But another thing you can do if you're really trying to eliminate any type of sweetener is, one of our participants actually suggested cooking a carrot along with the tomatoes, and that adds a little bit of a sweetness. So I haven't tried that yet, but that sounds like a fantastic idea. And then just a little bit of salt and pepper. So I'm just doing kind of a sprinkle of salt, and depending on how much pepper you like, I like a goodly amount of pepper. Okay, now we're just gonna blend this up. And that is it. That looks amazing. All right, it's a little tangy, it's a little sweet, it's so delicious. You can use this sauce for so many different things. You could use it in a lasagna, you could use it over pasta. You're gonna have a little bit left over, so you can freeze it. It freezes really well. And I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So I'm gonna set this up as if I was gonna bring this to a party. And this is what I would do. Just get a white plate and have a little white dish in the middle. And then I would put my fries right around it. Kind of facing outward. Oh my gosh, they look delicious. I cut these a little bit thicker this time. They look beautiful. Okay. Okay, so see how beautiful this is? All right, let's see how I did. I'm gonna taste one. Crispy on the outside, kind of soft on the inside. And that tomato balsamic dipping sauce is so good. Like a little tangy, a little sweet. You're gonna love it. Okay, that's how easy it is. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and I can't wait to make something else for you in the near future. So I will be seeing you in the next meeting.